Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to another episode of Found Footage Fridays with my co-host, Tom Reimer.
Just passed our 1-year anniversary for those who've been following along and watching all our episodes. So a huge milestone.
Yes.
Really exciting.
Very exciting. Thank you, everyone that's commented, suggested, retweeted, watched, like all of that. Like, thanks to everybody, because this has been a pretty successful journey, I would say, so far.
Very. A lot of fun. So
yeah.
We're not done, obviously, and we have a really kind of unique episode today. Really exciting one.
Yeah. Starting from this episode, I'm going to do this really quick. I wanted to show you guys the our shirts that Tom and I will be wearing in future episodes. So we do have Found Footage Fridays merch, which if you were part of our 50th live, you already knew that because we had some winners for some stuff that's gone out for the people who won those giveaways. So moving forward in the episodes, I'm always going to have our Found Footage Friday logo, specifically that merch related to that, in the description for the episodes for you to check out. So this is Tom's.
I haven't seen it yet. That looks great.
No, I didn't show it to you on purpose.
Yes.
And then this is mine.
Oh, that came out great.
Oops, sorry. Yep.
That came out great.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of stuff, stickers, magnets, cups, bags. There's all kinds of stuff. So there's going to be description, or the links for that's in the description. So you can go have your very own Found Footage Fridays merch.
Why not? Can't wait to get mine.
Yeah. So this episode is going to be a little bit different. I think Tom had posted one of our episodes a few weeks ago, I think now, maybe a little bit longer. And
yeah.
We got, or Tom got a comment from, that's what happened, right? I think that's right.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. By a filmmaker by the name of Paul A. Brooks. He actually did pop in for our 50th and was one of our giveaway winners.
Yep.
He is apparently a fan of Found Footage. So,
I mean, who? Let's be honest. Who isn't a fan of Found
Yeah,
Footage?
we just don't acknowledge the small percentage that's not anymore. But yeah, so he was really kind and wanted to offer up, giving us the chance to watch a screener of a movie he has coming out. And the short of it is, instead of our typical, I think, pattern of where we do, like, we rate our tapes, we do our synopsis, our short little thing, and then we go into spoilers. We're going to cut some of that out, going to give a very brief synopsis of the story, and we're going to give a no spoiler review without ratings. Just to kind of give everybody an idea, because this film is not out yet. We don't want to ruin too much.
And we want you to go see it, and if we tell you a little bit too much, you probably won't. So
so that's true. So the movie we are covering today is called Hunting for the Hag. And the short synopsis for this is 3 young women venture deep into the woods to hunt for a local legend known as a Hawthorne hag and attempt to capture it on camera for the first time.
That's exactly how it starts out. And I would say sometimes I can just tell when we watch a movie. If you watched a lot of Found Footage Fridays episodes, sometimes I just know before Angel and I sit down and talk about it. I know what she's gonna like about it, what she's not gonna like about it.
We've learned
I know that this is gonna be one that we either see eye to eye on, or more often than not don't see eye to eye on, which is kind of cool thing about the show. So watching this movie, for better or for worse, I knew right away there was going to be a lot we did not see eye to eye on this movie.
Yeah, because we each have different buckets we want filled for Found Footage.
Right.
Yeah. Having said that, I do think that a lot of our, I guess we'll call them gripes, are covered in this. Like, I felt there's quite a few, and again, this is no spoilers. We are going to try to be very careful about what we say. And I would like, we have the same questions every time of like, why are we still doing this? And what's the reason for this? And all I'll say is that they strategically start you in a place where you can't question that.
Right.
And I think that is very intelligent filmmaking.
I spoiler, really like this movie. And
That's the only spoiler.
I'm like excited for other people to watch this movie. And
Yeah.
I think it's definitely going to find its audience out there.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I think partly this is the kind of story I like to watch. It was fun. I like to, well, certain parts of it were fun. Um,
Yeah.
I like it sort of reminded me of my most in some ways of my most recent book, even like just like the feel of certain elements of
I
it,
can
and you
see
probably
that.
know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
Hmm.
people out there who've read my book, I think you might like this movie, and vice versa. So I wanted to say
Hmm.
something that was very different about. So this is a found footage movie, and I think we're always looking for people who can present found footage to us in a unique way.
Yes.
And a lot of times found footage is presented as part of a mockumentary, right?
Yeah.
There's a mockumentary, and during that movie, they show you
Right.
some found footage,
Yep.
or sometimes it's just found footage, and there's no other than like that the be tagged at the beginning,
That, yeah.
law enforcement found this video, and it's
Our
whatever.
explanation. Yeah.
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 Um, this one, this work of found footage was sandwiched in between something a little more cinematic, and if you had described it that it was going to go in that direction before I watched the movie, or if I had known that, I would have probably been nervous.
Hmm.
But I liked it, and I liked it number one because it was very different,
It's
um,
different. Yep.
and I didn't expect it,
Mhm.
and I just liked it. I can't say more than that, but I liked what
Yeah.
they did. I've never seen it done quite like this before. So I'll say that.
Yeah, well, and I'll add to that and just say, because of the different way that it went about portraying the film style or the film technique, um, I actually was nervous at first, but then it flowed a lot better than, like you said, than I would have
Yeah,
thought hearing it. And it ended up not being an issue for me like it has been in other films where the back and forth thing. And it's kind of like, this is kind of a weird thing to compare it to, although also folklore. But they did that in Incantation. There's several moments in Incantation where like all of a sudden it's third person. You're like, where the heck?
so and I have a feeling on that. So my feeling is that this was much more intentional, and I'd love to
Yes.
know. I'd love to talk to Paul and like find out like
Yeah.
why they chose to go that route of presenting and how to frame the found footage in this movie.
Yeah.
Um, but in Incantation, it felt to me more accidental, and
And
that
that was what I was gonna
it
say
bothered
is
me more.
that's one of the ones that I know of off the top of my head that did it where it caused a disconnect where you're
Right,
just like, and then you have to like get back into the found footage emotion, right? Because you're like,
right.
okay, we just got yanked out for a second. This was definitely more methodical and intentional. I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that.
So that's something I really like about this
Yep.
movie. I think that there's some of the actors in this movie. There's some real potential
Yep.
for the future, and I'm like really kind of curious. The main actress in particular, and I don't know her name off the top of my head.
I don't know
I
her
thought
actress. I know her character's name is Tara.
Tara, I
Hmm.
thought was great, and
She was
I
great.
really think like I think she was really showcased in this movie,
Yes.
and I I could see her, reappearing in some other movies down the line. I thought she was very strong.
Yeah, I also agree with that. And one other thing in reference to kind of like the acting and how it was like, going throughout the story. I have to say like we talk a lot about also like set groupings of people in found footage and how like it's
Yeah.
always the same whatever. And this is very different,
Yes.
but also the way that these friends are as separate characters and how they interact with each other was super believable. Like I really bought into the
Yes.
different personality traits and the dynamics of the friendships as we got to know them,
Yeah.
which made things later stronger because then you at least were believing the emotions and all the things that come as the story
Yeah.
goes forward.
Yeah. I thought the beginning was very strong.
Yeah.
The three of them.
Yeah, I
together.
agree.
Um, so I really like that. So should we probably should just give like a little brief sort of
Mhm.
idea of what this movie is about without going too far, right?
Yeah.
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 So so Tara is making some sort of a documentary
For school, I think.
for about the Hawthorne Hag.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, that name sticks with me. I don't know if I was intentional naming the witch after Hawthorne, someone from Massachusetts. I just hear Nathaniel Hawthorne. I don't know, but it's stuck in my head.
Oh, maybe. I didn't even think about that.
So Hawthorne Hag, and there's lore. We love lore in found footage, right?
Yes.
And so there is definitely a lot of that in this. There's definitely a backstory of this hag, and basically, they know of a specific location that they go, or they think they know of a specific location they can go to hopefully catch a glimpse of the Hawthorne hag. And so I was a little bit nervous at first. I was like, oh, this setup sounds a little bit familiar. uh,
Yeah.
but it didn't end up. It
No.
wasn't the Blair Witch at all. I want to be clear
No.
about that. This was a
Yeah.
very unique movie, and it
Yes.
went in a completely different direction. It did not
Yep.
feel like the Blair Witch.
Yep.
However, I thought that's what was going to happen because we've certainly seen our fair share of found footage. Um, Not surprisingly, that
I
tries
mean,
to duplicate what the Blair Witch did.
yeah.
And I always think that that's a mistake because you're never going to be able to duplicate what we got
And you
in
don't
the
want
emotion around
people,
the movie.
yeah, and you don't want people comparing your film to that anyway, because then it's just putting it in like I don't know what the best way to put it is, but you just don't want people comparing it to such an influential film. And then you want to create something new, something that's unique to the concept and
Yeah.
something different, which I mean, you know what I will say about the lore, because that we're not gonna, like, again, we're being careful about what we share, but the lore, and I don't know if you felt this way too, but the lore is just vague enough that it's believable, but you wouldn't necessarily overanalyze it to say that it's rubbish. Like it toes this very interesting line between like it's spooky and it's kind of crazy, and you can be like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense, but just enough like concrete for that and not much else, because it's not like an origin story of something that's black and white. It's the same thing, everybody, you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
was a very unique way to create a lore around a character that was believable, but not questionable, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of great lore.
Mhm.
And I can't go too much further, but they go in search of this
Mhm.
hag, and then a bunch of stuff happens.
Yeah.
A bunch of stuff happens.
There's a lot of surprises in this movie. I feel like I posted about it when I was watching it earlier. I
Oh,
posted on Twitter and was like, because I went and saw where Paul had posted or pinned the Dread Central article about this film coming out, or about it being, maybe it was when it was just announced or something. I can't remember, but I quote tweeted it and I was like, he was kind enough to send us the screeners for it. I said, I was not prepared. And I said something else to the effect of like, this movie is not what it seems. And I think that is a
not.
pretty big selling point, because if someone were to say like, oh, like, what did you like about this movie? That would be a selling point for me. Is I would say one of the things I liked about this movie is that I never knew what was going to happen second to second. Like there's a couple of turning points throughout the film, and there's like multiple big like story twist things that happen. And you're just kind of like, yeah, there's a couple of moments where I literally was like, okay, well, didn't see that coming, like, and I would say that that's a good thing, because a lot of stuff is like really predictable, or it seems to follow the same formula, but I did genuinely feel like this was a really out of the box film altogether.
Yeah. So because we can't like say too much more about it, I think it would be maybe helpful for people out there if could we do some like comparisons, like things maybe it reminded us of. I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, so the major one, and I cannot tell you Why? Because I think if I dive too much into that, it's going to give too many plot points away. But there's some things about this. It definitely did give me some Blair Witch stuff in the beginning. It kind of reminded me, because of a certain thing, a certain part of the storyline. It kind of reminded me of some things that I really liked about Crone Wood, which I
Sure.
know is not
Yeah.
one of your favorites, but that was one that
I like that. That's okay. I like that one.
I like that one way more than you did.
You love that one. Yeah.
I did love that one. And so there's some elements to it that remind me of that. There's also
Mhm.
some things in it, and this is not a this is a very light comparison, but there's some things that happen that remind me of the sort of discomfort I felt when I watched things like the Poughkeepsie tapes, or maybe Savage Land. Like, there's some things about
Hmm.
it that invoke emotions that you don't always necessarily feel prepared for going into a movie, especially found footage. So I would say those are some other ones. And the other really big one for me, and this may make you raise your brows, but I think because you've seen it, you'll know why. There's some things about it that reminded me of the X-Files.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
so it's a very mixed bag of things, I feel like.
Yeah. I think there was some
Overall.
imagery that remind, and not the same movie, very different feel overall, sort of film.
I
Of
think I think I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
Deadstream.
Deadstream. I knew you were gonna
Uh,
say Deadstream. I thought of
not
that one too.
it. This is not a comedy. Uh,
No.
Deadstream is, um, but there were just
Yes.
certain things that
Yep.
made me get that feel a little bit.
Yep.
Um, but I think that this, um, so I think that this movie works for people who like found footage, but it
Mhm.
also works for people who maybe don't do a lot of found footage, but are into a certain brand of horror as well. Um,
I can see that, yeah.
right? So, like,
Yeah.
I think whether that's uh, slasher or anything, even some of the score, some of the music score in this just sort of brought me to a certain place, and
Mhm.
it made and reminded me of maybe even like an older period of filmmaking. Um,
Yeah.
you know, even 70s, 80s sort of horror genre.
I
It's
think I know
not
what you
what
mean.
a lot of the movie didn't feel like that, but the music sort of did that a little bit for me.
Yeah.
That was intentional or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so I like the setting for this movie a lot.
Yep.
And again, I really like just the structure and the framework of this whole movie because
Yeah.
it was surprising and unique. And
Very
I
unique.
typically don't think I would like the getting, uh, pulled out of my found footage, unless like, but again, it works a lot in like a mockumentary style, and it's essentially doing a very similar thing.
Yep.
So I did
That's
like it. It
true.
was very intentional. It was not an accidental sort of thing, and so I really did
No.
like that. Um,
Yeah.
I do. I cannot wait to see where this movie ends up and when it finally is available to the public.
Yeah.
Um, where can people find out more information about this?
Yeah, so I'm gonna put Paul's social media as well as the production company social media in the description for this episode. I'm going to say these, but I'm also going to put these probably either in the description or in a picture for if you want to pause and look at it. But there's going to be two upcoming screenings, one in Chicago and one in LA. Wednesday night, August 9th at the Music Box Theater in Chicago, there will be a showing. And Tuesday night, September 12th at the, I don't know how to say this, Laemmle, Laemmle Town Center 5 in Los Angeles.
That would
And that's
be that would be so cool
yeah.
to see
So,
them.
and the thing is, like, to me, like, obviously, like, Tom and I are big supporters of indie filmmaking and books. And it would be cool to be a part of something like this as it's just coming up, because
That'd be cool.
I'm like 97% sure this is his first full.
I don't know.
Feature length film. But it would be cool to be a part of something as it's building, because if it is, or even if it's just the first one he's trying to put on something, either way, it's he's still relatively new to the filmmaking side of it as far as this goes. Now, I'm sure he's done other stuff. I don't mean it like that, but I just mean that, like, and now to get to see something like this, and then to see where he goes from here and what else he does, would be cool to be a part of, which in a way we are. So thank you, Paul, for sending us.
I want to point out about Paul that he is something we talk about on a lot of our episodes, are some of these like triple, quadruple threats. You know, the people who are they're a director, they're a writer, they're holding the camera, they're an actor, and Paul makes an appearance in this film. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler, but we saw you, Paul. A little creepy, but we saw you somewhere.
Oh, and I was also going to say that the gore in this is really well done.
Oh, yeah.
Super believable gore.
Really like the gore.
Yeah.
We're fans of gore.
Yeah.
Sort of. So, yeah, get yourself, if you can, to one of these premieres. Keep your eyes peeled for when this finally does become available, because I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be talking about this, but it's kind of cool that we're some of the first.
Yeah. Feels very cool.
You said the Instagram handle?
I didn't. I'm going to post it. I'm going to put it in the description. I feel like saying it is helpful sometimes, but most of the time people are going to look for the links, because I'm going to put his stuff and the InMotion, or I think that's what it's called, InMotion handle for the company.
Okay.
It in motion pictures. So I'll put the handles and everything in the description for the episode. But yeah, thank you again, Paul, for being so willing to let us check it out early. That was awesome.
And congratulations, and keep us posted. We'll be hoping for this to get out there, and can't wait to see what you do next.
Yeah.
So get out and see this movie.
Yep.
When it's available. Not yet.
You can't do it yet. What are we talking next week, Tom?
Next week, we're talking the Gracefield incident. So stay tuned, which is already available, and you can go watch if you want to prepare for next week's episode.
Yep, I think it's on multiple things.
It's all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one Angel's very excited to talk about.
I haven't seen it yet. I got to watch it. It's one of the few I haven't. So.
That's Tom's homework. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of Found Footage Fridays. Thanks again, Paul. We really appreciate it, and the support for coming by to our 50th. That was really cool. And thanks everybody for hanging out with us on this episode of Found Footage Fridays. Tom and I will be back next week talking the Gracefield incident. Until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy your week coming up, and we'll see you next week.
Get that hag. Bye.